might be loud in here. I'm sorry. I'm on another road trip, imagine that. And I listen, a lot of times, like, Tucker Carlson will come on when I'm driving, and I listen to it through. I don't have an opinion either way about the guy because a lot of people say he's like a CIA plant. I can see that. However, I can also see him just being a very ignorant individual, and a lot of people are just ignorant. And what makes me believe that to a degree is the fact he will talk about democracy and freedom in the same breath and act as if the two are cohesive when they're not. The one I'm listening to now, or just listened to, he was talking about, the lies in government and how declassifying documents would put some disinfectant on those lies. The transparency, the sunlight would disinfect the lies. And the truth and honesty about it is that's never going to happen. The JFK assassination, the documents haven't been declassified for 63 years because they don't want you to know that your government is the one that killed, they're the ones that killed JFK. The ones that truly run our government. And it's not Trump or Biden or Bush or Obama. That's not who, and realistically, who's supposed to run this country? The people. The people are. And they're supposed to do that through fear, through, our government creates these things that cause laws. It's really just policy. But within those, what backs the laws when it instills fear in the people so that the people obey is the consequences of disobeying said policy. And that fear is what keeps people from disobeying. The problem is our government has lost sight of the fear from the people because it has no reason to fear the people. And until those in government wake up every day with legitimate fucking fear of us, they're going to keep stepping on our throats and fucking us over. They're going to keep stealing our money. They're going to keep taking money from, AIPAC, and they're going to keep then laundering money back through Israel or Ukraine or whatever, Egypt even, in order to enrich themselves because they don't give a shit about you or me. And that's the truth of it. That's the honest of it. Democracy is mob rule. You can't say, oh, we got to get back to a democracy. If me and the other person agrees on everything, does that mean that we get to rule over you? I mean, that's democracy, right? So whatever we say goes. No, it's not the way it is. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Nowhere in our founding documents is the term democracy mentioned. And if you take some time and go read any of the journal entries or letters or articles or even books that some of the founders wrote, you will see the only way they spoke of democracy was in a negative way. Or a democratic Republican or republic. No, we're not. No, we're not. Everybody is not supposed to have a vote on even the smallest things, much less everything, which is what true democracy is. But everyone shouldn't be able to vote for who's president. The fucking welfare queen down here that's got 9 kids by 7 different dads, you think she should get to vote. And not only should she get to vote, she can pass her moral compass and her principles onto her 9 kids but by 7 different dads who are most likely going to be on welfare also, and then they get to vote while we only raise up and pass our principles and morals onto our 2 or 3 kids that we can afford to have. This country is fucked. It's been screwed. But the key, like the kick in it, like the crux of it, right? Or the cornerstone, whatever you want to call it, is that government has zero fear for the people. And like if our government, anyone in it, wakes up and knows that, whether they know or not, if they screwed us over the day before, they should legitimately have a fear of the people. Like a legitimate fear. Why don't they? Because We got, as a society, our grandparents got lazy, stupid. I mean, like, I could see Tucker Carlson being a CIA asset because his dad was he's open about it. His dad was in the CIA. Probably how he got his position where he did in life, and now where he passes on his opinion or their opinion, however you want to look at it, every day. Every day. And people listen to him. They listen to what he has to say. Even though 90% of it's wrong, because it's based on these silly ideals like, we have to get back to a democracy so we can, the people can have a say. Now, that's the 50.1% having a say. And everybody's okay with it when they're on the winning side. But the truth of it is that it shouldn't matter. Because if, we have this ideal of rights that are inherent to us, right? Because we're born here. This country's supposed to be different. And because of that, it shouldn't matter who you vote for. Because if they did anything to violate anybody's rights, whether it be a congressman or state legislature or a president even, they wouldn't have a legitimate fear of the people the next day. And then whatever they did to screw us over would be fixed, whether they did it knowingly or not. You can go down the rabbit hole, like the federal government and how Congress does, it's always Congress, and the president. Me, where I'm at right now in Kentucky, the federal government has zero jurisdiction over me at all. Zero. They don't have any authority over me whatsoever anyway. Government doesn't. That's why it's called government and not God. But we come to believe now that our government, in particular the federal government, the federal government creates policies, and then us plebes have to obey said policy because the federal government, which has no jurisdiction anyway, it's very clear, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, very clear. We have to obey it because, they'll come down on us with the threat of force and violence and throw us in cages. And that's why most people obey. But we're getting to a point where people are going to quit obeying because they're going to have nothing to lose. There was a poll taken, and in the last year, 1 out of every 3 people have stolen something. Like, think about that number. 1/3 of the country. I'm not surprised because 1/3 of the country is on welfare, too. I'm not. Probably could be, but not. What happens when that's 2/3? What happens when it's everybody but the top 5%? Like, we're not far from there. I mean, people can't afford anything. You can't afford a car. You got to go to work, right? You need a car to get you there. Nobody's buying fucking $80,000 rides. Not many people I know. And I do know one person that just bought a new truck, but it's for business purposes, tax write-off. But anybody else I know is not buying new rides. They're all going back to early 2000, 90s models, and 90s models. Why? Because they can work on them. They can fix them. They don't have to spend, $10,000 on a new transmission. They can spend $600 on a rebuild kit, rebuild a 700 R4 and throw it back in the Monte Carlo or whatever it is that they buy. Like, people are downsizing. They're selling their houses and getting smaller houses. They're finding out shortly after that the smaller house is just as expensive as the big house they left in most cases. We have this huge-ass housing bubble right now. It's actually bigger than the housing bubble in 2008. It's got to explode at some point. At some point, it's got to crash. It has to. It's inevitable. The only thing that may stop that from happening is they say 10 million, I say 50 million illegals that are in the country that are buying all this shit up. I got a buddy whose dad sold a two-wheel drive extended cab, or maybe it was a crew cab Dodge truck the other day. It's like a 2018 model, I think. And see, whatever he sold it for, it was above what it was worth, a few grand above what it was worth. And some Mexican came and bought it, dropped him out $165 bills. I don't know any like people that are from here that are doing that, or that can afford to do that. And now the job market's got all the shit. You know, there's been a loss of like 100,000 manufacturing jobs in the last year that nobody wants to talk about. I mean, even getting a job 6 or 8 months ago versus now, it's the market's slim. The corporations have got to where they want $100 an hour worth of work, but they want to pay you $35 an hour or $38 an hour. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not coming in and I'm not being, in maintenance, right? But now it's not just maintenance. Now they want you to know among your refrigeration. They want you to know all, commercial HVAC on top of that. They want you to be the electrician. They want you to be the plumber. They want you to be the mechanic. All these things, when it used to be kind of split up a little bit. Now mechanic would do some electrical work, electricians would do some mechanics work. No, they're doing away with that shit. Now it's, if you're in maintenance, they want you to take on all these hats, depending on what day of the week it is. Oh, and now we got wastewater treatment centers that everything's got to go to all these corporations to treat all the water because the EPA says so. Even though this has been ran this way, listen, when I worked in a major manufacturer in Cincinnati, a major Fortune 500 company, and we would dump hundreds of gallons of sugar down the sewer every day. And the way that it worked is that it wasn't based on how much product we dumped, right? How much sugar we dumped. I don't know what that does to the system. It does something though. They got to get it out of the water somehow through a wastewater treatment facility, which is why they're now putting one in at that place. But they would get fined every 6 months. That's what they called it, fine. It was really just a commercial water bill is what it was, but it was like over the top because they didn't have this, new age, highly technical wastewater treatment plant. So the question became is, well, who's gonna maintain it? You're paying us X amount of dollars to do this job now. This is what's within what we operate on, and now you're adding this whole other system. Not only is this whole new system, but it's new. No clue. Company didn't have an answer for it. I did. I said, they're lying to you. It's going to be the mechanics. That's who's going to be doing it. But they won't hire more mechanics. Why don't they have more mechanics? Because they should be able to get their work done with the mechanics they have. But since it's all Gen Z bitches that work now, a bunch of fucking crybabies that don't want to do shit, that don't want to do anything outside of their job description at all, right? Because especially in the unions especially, unions only really. I'd have fired everybody that worked under me where I worked as a supervisor. Everybody that worked, literally, there was probably 3 guys out of 20 something that I would have not have fired if it had been a non-union company. And they play that role. Now that's gone so far that the union workers now run the company. There's no sense in even having supervisors, and they're not having supervisors. They fired all. So I was a supervisor. Like for example, they have a maintenance engineer, and then they had a shift maintenance supervisor on every shift. My position they did away with throughout the whole plant. When I first started there, they started taking union employees and throwing green hats on them and calling them shift leaders. And when they did that, I told another guy, I'm like, they're deleting our job right there. That's how they're going to do it. It's like that can't ever happen. I'm like, okay. And 6 months later, at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning, After I finished, an hour away from clocking out and going home, my boss pops his head in the door, and I knew as soon as he popped his head in the door what was going on. And then he looked down at my gym bag, because I carry my gym bag everywhere with me. He says, "Is that all your personal stuff?" And I just started laughing, because I already knew. I already knew it was just a matter of time. So now they're having hourly employees that they give a $5 an hour raise to do a job that they was paying somebody else, $85,000 to do. Actually, this is paying me $82,500. They could have paid me $92,500, but they don't like to give you the most money they can. They like to at least have 2 raises once you're hired on. I'm like, well, that makes no sense. Either I can do the job or I can't. If I can, you pay me as much money as you can. But that goes back to the corporate, I'm wanting to save my ass and shit. We spent an entire fucking week at this manufacturing facility. We're manufacturing tons upon tons of ice cream and sodas. I mean, that's how they measure it, in tons. For a week, we did nothing but paint walls and paint lines on the fucking floor and calling companies to paint lines in the parking lot. It got so wigged out that they were going to write people up for parking and parking spaces wrong. If you had to back into your parking spot, so it was all uniform. And you know what all that was for? Every last bit of it. The careers of the plant manager, the second in charge, and then all the department managers. Literally. They had this really strict dress rule where you'd walk in, you change out to your work clothes, even management, your work boots, and then even if you went out to lunch, you had to change out of that shit and then change back into it when you came back in the building. Except if you were a department manager or the plant manager or he was a safety coordinator or some other shit. It made no sense to me. I got covered in mud and shit one day at work because I was doing work outside of my job description, because that's just kind of the person I am. I'm not going to tell you to do some shit that I wouldn't do myself, so I jump in and I help you so you know that I'll do it. And I was like, fuck, man. My boss is standing there clean as can be. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm covered in mud now. He's like, and? I'm like, well, I can't go back in the building. I have to go around front and dress out, but I'm on my boots are still covered. He's like, oh, no, you're good. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, it's from this facility. I'm like, so let me understand this. If I have dirt on my shoes, I can't wear it in here from my house. But I can be covered in mud and shit and walk around a food manufacturing facility because the mud and shit came from the property that this facility is on. He said, yep. Makes no sense. But to save, insurance, whatever it is, $120 a year, you figure probably by the time insurance is involved. Say that $82,500, they give one hourly employee per shift on each line a couple of $1 an hour raise, and they fired all the, and it wasn't like, hey, we're going to let you go kind of thing. It wasn't like planned out. It was, like I said, my boss popped his head in the morning at 5 a.m., so they took me in a room all by myself, a couple other dudes in there, I don't know if they were scared of me or what. They all tried to follow me outside, and I was trying to talk to one of them, and I just started laughing, because you motherfuckers shouldn't do nothing to me if you wanted to, and number one. Number two, you're fucking Kroger's employees. Get your asses back inside. I'm surprised they didn't call the cops, but whatever. But this country's fucked, man. Amazon and Walmart's taking it over. The prices of everything is going up, which means the value of your labor is going down. But if you make $500,000 a year, you're not going to notice it. It's not going to matter to you. It matters to the guy that makes $38 an hour and is fucking scraping by, which, if you ask me, is crazy. It's absolutely insane. I mean, my first job, I made $9 something an hour. My first real job. I was in high school. I was in OWE. I'd leave every day at 11, go to work till 9 o'clock at night. go home, do my schoolwork or whatever, fuck off, and go to bed. I thought I was rich, man. Compared to what everybody else was making at school, I was balling. $9 an hour. I worked my second real job. I started out making $16.87, and I bought a home and had 2 new cars, all kinds of toys and bullshit. I had a Mustang on the side of $16.87 an hour. I worked a lot of overtime, granted, but still, I had money in the bank. I was paying all my bills. I wasn't scraping by. Now it doesn't matter if you make $700 or $1,700. You're going to scrape by, and I know that doesn't make sense. But if you make $700, the way you live is completely different than if you make $1,700, or vice versa, whatever I said. I don't know. People better wake the fuck up. Like I said, I'm genuinely surprised that I wake up every Monday and people are not shooting each other in the streets because of the stock market crash. And just like that, stock market, we all know is artificially inflated. It's artificially held up. Yeah, we don't do shit. Now just let them do it. Matter of fact, we'll help it. We'll invest in it a little bit. It just blows my fucking mind. I gotta go. I've got a headache now from thinking about this shit. You guys have a good night and stay safe. Yeah, the parts are shit too. You're right. When it comes to the cars, 100%. I was just talking to a buddy of mine last year. He had he's got a Hemi Challenger, an SRT, and one of the lifters wiped the cam out. So they put aftermarket shit in it, like Edelbrock or something, cam and lifters. And he said when he picked it up, you could hear it ticking. And they're like, no, just go drive it, it'll be fine. And it wiped the cam out of it, so they had to do the job a second time. Yeah, I mean, with the factory Chrysler cam and lifters in it, he hasn't had no problem since. But he will. Why? Because the Gen 3 Hemi's design shitty design. But I'll take my chances with shitty parts over paying somebody $10,000 to rebuild a transmission for me. My F-250's got one PCM. It's got one module on it. It's the PCM, which I wish I could get rid of it. I thought about putting 12 valve in the damn thing, calling it a day. Now this truck's got like 24 or 25. You cannot work on the truck without having a $5,000 bidirectional scan tool. They say you can, but you can't. 4Scan don't give you all the shit you need to be able to work on the newer F-250s, F-350s and shit. It just makes me sick, man.